abused by one of her teachers, is from what I can see, a lot of the abusers are holding positions of power. They're judges, they're policemen, they're teachers. And so that's a little harder sometimes to address, but I think we have to look at that in the child trafficking thing, like, okay, a judge that's not doing a job, like you brought up, they're not doing their job. They're not abiding by the Constitution. Can you arrest them for not abiding by the Constitution? Or does it just keep going on until they vote it out?
Yeah, like the judges.
That's one question.
Okay, let's do one at a time. Yeah, let me answer that one.
Mr. Hurley?
Yeah.
So, as sheriff, I will set up a panel in the sheriff's office that reviews any rights violations, civil rights, human rights, constitutional rights violations in this county. I don't care who does it. It could be Woodfin Police Department. Right now what happens is if somebody has a complaint about something that happened, they take it to that agency, and then Internal Affairs investigates it, right? Well, Internal Affairs don't want the department to have a bad name, so a lot of times it just becomes unfounded. We need an unbiased third-party entity that's made up of constitutional attorneys, it's made up of community members, made up of the sheriff, it's made up of all these people who want to maintain integrity and accountability when it comes to doing the right thing. So that's one of my initiatives in setting this up. So if somebody were pulled over, if somebody's dealing with the judge, or somebody's dealing with the DA, and they feel as though their rights were violated, you bring it to the sheriff's office, and we launch an investigation into this issue. If it does come to pass that the person has violated the rights of that individual, yes, the sheriff's office will arrest that individual.
AJ? Ditto to David. Yes, there will be an investigation. If anybody, like you said, civil rights, constitutional rights are violated, then, like I said, bring them to my office or bring them through the complaint division, which has got a hand grenade with a pin on the end of it. That's good. David said it all. I mean, I couldn't add much to that.
Lori, second.
Yeah, can y'all weigh in on what you think of the law enforcement in many places access to qualified immunity and asset forfeiture?
AJ?
Good question.
Qualified immunity means they hurt you, they don't get in trouble.
I'll answer.
I'm stuck.
Again, this happens more than we probably know, and it's also called violations under the color of law, right? Let's say, just an example, police officer pulls somebody over, tells somebody to step out of the car, they step out of the car, proceeds to search the car, doesn't really have any probable cause for searching the car, but does it anyways, right? Finds something in the car that's illegal, and then takes the person to jail. That entire traffic stop never should have happened. It was all illegal, right? Asset forfeitures have actually been found unconstitutional time and time again, taking people's stuff away. And what this means is, let's say I pull that same person over, they've got $1,000 in the car, and they've got a quarter ounce of marijuana, okay? And I associate that $1,000 with selling marijuana, and I take that property away. I take that $1,000 away for them, and I put it on Facebook, lay it all out on a table, and say, look at what the sheriff's department is doing.
Yeah.
All that right there is illegal. This happens every single day, and I can understand why people are pissed off at that, right?
Yeah.
If it happened to me, I'd be pissed off. This kind of stuff has got to stop. I know going through the academy and then going through field training, there's certain things that they would teach me being a police officer to kind of skirt around these things, right? Hey, if somebody doesn't let you search their car, check to see if the registration is signed, because that's a misdemeanor. You can arrest them for that, and then you can go search their car pursuant to an arrest. That's illegal. This kind of stuff happens all the time. It also happens, at the higher levels. DAs, judges, mayors, right? It's not a police officer only issue. This goes all the way up, and it goes up on both sides. It goes up on the Republican side, and it goes up on the Democratic side. And this kind of stuff has to be stopped.
Do you want to, AJ, do you want to answer that question? No, okay.
That's what you're talking about. Mike?
It's my opinion that we're living under the greatest crime in the history of the world. We're watching the genocide of the population through medical tyranny, through the hospital systems, through the government, from the local government, everybody forcing people to take an experimental gene-altering biological weapon that at this point 1.1 million Americans, excess Americans, have died since the rollout of the injection. That's a lot. That's 20 times more than died in Vietnam. This is all being covered up, and the hospitals are participating in it because they're getting paid over $100,000 for every person they kill. What can be done to prosecute, and is that in your purview? What can be done to prosecute all the people who are just like the good Germans who just stood by and watched them kill off, 6 million Jews? What can be done to prosecute the people who are actively participating in it? And we can easily draw up a list and hand it to you and start an investigative committee. I don't think it'd be hard to prove that this is what's going on. But what can be done to go after the people who are responsible for this?
Well, first of all, I don't think the sheriff's department be involved in something like that. It would be a
Who should be?
SBI, FBI investigation. The sheriff would have no role in that, I don't think.
Yeah, hold on.
I beg to differ. I think that the sheriff in this county answers to you guys. Okay? The sheriff and the coroner historically were the only ones that could actually call a grand jury of the people. Okay?
You say sheriff and coroner?
And the coroner, historically. If people got together and said, hey, we want an investigation into this, and a grand jury was formed, and there was enough evidence to indict somebody for something, and this doesn't just apply to this applies to anything. There's enough evidence to indict somebody for somebody to come here and answer to this indictment here in Buncombe County. Because the thing is that the sheriff's concern is every individual living in this county, right? Not necessarily what happens outside. I don't care what happens outside the county, but in this county, if we have a majority of people that come together and say something is wrong, something illegal has happened to us, then a grand jury can be formed. Evidence can be presented by people who know what they're talking about, and then an indictment can be created, and we can indict those individuals to come here and answer for these allegations. At that point, if they're found guilty, just like any other indictment, if they're found guilty of these crimes, then they are arrested for them. Federal FBI is operating at a federal level. The SBI is operating at a state level. For the longest time now, we've been failing to realize that there's a smaller level of government, and that's right here in this county. And there's nobody that knows this county more than the people in government in this county.